Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Tuesday, April 28th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you. We got 3 games tonight in NHL Stanley Cup playoff action, 2 of them being elimination games as the Buffalo Sabres on home ice look to finish off the Boston Bruins. We've got a great series, Minnesota-Dallas, a huge pivotal Game 5 with that series tied at 2 in Big D. And, of course, the Edmonton Oilers. Is this the end of an era for the Oilers, who have been to the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row? They face elimination tonight at home against the Anaheim Ducks, and we've got plenty of news coming out of that game. Before we get into the recap, we just want to quickly mention the passing of John Garrett, a longtime broadcaster with the Vancouver Canucks. Really 5 decades he had been a broadcaster. This was after he retired from playing. NHL goalie for several years, ended his career with the Canucks, with, I believe, a couple other teams as well. He didn't get in a ton of games every year, largely backup duty as a netminder, but then he got into broadcasting after retiring from playing. And if you watched his broadcast work, Hockey Night in Canada for CBC Sportsnet for really since the late 80s, and of course did Vancouver Canucks television broadcasts with Jim Hewson for a long time, and then of course John Shorthouse, Shorty, for the last couple of decades. Everyone that has come across and encountered John Garrett said, funny guy, great stories, great humor, really easy to get along with, a delightful person, and definitely a sad day and a very tough loss, obviously, for the hockey world with John Garrett passing. And now it all makes perfect sense. Those people that were watching Vegas, Utah last night in Canada, they had basically Harna Ryan Singh do the play-by-play of that series for Sportsnet to this point, and John Garrett was his partner for that series between Vegas and Utah. They had done Game 1, Game 2, and Game 3 of that series. And then all of a sudden, if you turned on Sportsnet last night, there's the ESPN broadcast of the game that they picked up, and we're like, what the fuck? Where's Harna Ryan? Where's John Garrett? They've been doing the series so far, Vegas, Utah, from start to finish. And people were saying, is Sportsnet getting cheap again? It took the 2 guys off the broadcast. Well, no. Unfortunately, we now know it was because John Garrett passed away late in the day yesterday. So just, and obviously when that happens, you're not going to be doing a broadcast. The grief, the emotion of it, it's a loss for the whole, television family of Sportsnet. So just really tough news. I mean, it's basically someone I've been watching on TV, various broadcasts, Hockey Night in Canada and the Vancouver Canucks for several decades. So rest in peace, Cheech, as he was known as, John Garrett. He was also a big fan of ketchup. And someone was saying after the news of his passing that he'll be able to have a lot of ketchup now upstairs. So R.I.P. John Garrett, Cheech, and he'll be missed and certainly beloved in the Vancouver Canucks organization and the fans.
Yeah, it's always tough. Like, we watch these games for so long and, throughout the year, and you get used to these voices and you get used to these people and these faces. And like I said, to have such a sudden tragic death like that happen, especially during this time in the playoffs, when, like I said, you have a crew that's working together and traveling back and forth throughout those 7-game series. So, I'm sure you get used to one another and get close to one another. So, like I said, condolences to his friends and family and his colleagues. That's a sudden loss for not only them, but just the entire hockey world.
Yeah, no question about it. It's just sudden, and this reminds me of the way we lost Greg Millen a couple years ago. When he was just doing a game on television like a few days before we heard he passed away, and the same kind of thing with John Garrett. I mean, they were just there in Utah Friday night for Game 3 at the Delta Center. So just surprising news, stunning news, and ultimately incredibly sad news. And yes, Rich H, our good friend, of course, Canucks fan out there in Vancouver. I got to put this up. I ran into John at the Costco across the street from the Canucks arena. Sure enough, he was eating a hot dog covered in ketchup. Yeah, he loved his ketchup. He did. I mean, that was mentioned several times by him, John Garrett himself, and his colleagues, that you cannot separate ketchup from this man. You cannot do that. So, like I said, he'll be able to have all the ketchup he wants now. Terribly sad news, but R.I.P. to the great John Garrett. As far as last night's action, we'll get to Vegas, Utah in just a moment. First, we'll start with our BetCast game. We thank everybody for joining us on the BetCast. We are going to have a BetCast on Thursday this week. It's game to be determined, though. Game to be determined, because we're only going to do one of the games on Thursday night because it's Patreon only. It really is going to, I think we're going to probably go with Anaheim Edmonton if that series goes to game 6, because that's a big deal. I mean, it's a team that's been contending for a cup multiple years in a row that's facing their season on the line. That's probably the game we're going to go with on Thursday with the Patreon exclusive live betcast. And if it's not that, it's Dallas and Minnesota, which we know will have obviously a game that night because that series is 2-2. There will be a game 6 on Thursday night. But as far as last night with Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, oh shit, I just realized I broke my freaking rule of not releasing the betcast date until the day of. Oh shit. Oh well.
Well, like I said, we kind of had to do that just based on the fact that we don't know what game's going to be on. So it's all right.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want our Patreon members like kind of in the loop, and having to wait till the last minute. But it will be Thursday, the next betcast. It will be one of the two games for sure on Thursday. But as far as Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, credit to the Penguins. 3-2 victory over the Philadelphia Flyers. Up and down. It was really an up and down game from a betting standpoint. Some great results and some just painful results. We had, Pittsburgh first goal, first period. I like that quite a bit, and they scored very early in that game. How about Alex Bump for Philadelphia in the lineup? Cashes a bargain bin special, plus 650 for us yesterday in that game. So that was great. The gift that keeps on giving with this trend of second period over and second period both teams to score after a 1-0 first period. I can't say enough how incredible this has been. It's now, and Alex had the tweet, and I made sure I reposted what Alex put up there. It's 11-1 in the playoffs, second period over, and it's 9-3 for the both teams to score in the second period here in the playoffs after a 1-0 first period. I mean, it's been spectacular. I mean, especially the both teams to score second period bet after a 1-0 first period being 9-3. That means if you bet all 12 games where it was in action, you're way up because these both teams to score prices are plus 150 minimum for the most part. So it's just been incredible riding that, and it easily hit in that Pittsburgh-Philadelphia game. So that was all the good. The bad was we had over 5.5 for the best bet for the game. We had our empty net props. We had our third period overs, which didn't hit. It was the first time in an elimination game that we didn't hit third period over, and we didn't hit the full game over. First time of the 4 elimination games so far. And then to see how it lost was even more painful. I mean, I guess it's too much to ask one of the best fucking players in the NHL in the last century to just put a freaking puck into the empty net for us. Twice he had the chance and couldn't do it. Off the side of the post one time, and then a lunging effort, diving effort to put the puck into the empty net later on, and it went off the post as well. Man, that close to obviously getting at least the full game to go over the total there in that one. But nevertheless, Pittsburgh played pretty solid defense. Another solid effort from Artur Shilovs. Didn't love the bump goal, but it was a nice move by him. I think he kind of got fooled by it, but he was solid otherwise. And Pittsburgh, man, 3-2 win. They send this series back to Philadelphia for game 6, and now the pressure shifts. The pressure is on this Flyers group now going back to game 6. The sphincter starts to tighten. You start to feel like we're losing our opportunities to close this out. Your confidence dips. The other team's confidence grows. In this case, the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Alex, in the Keystone State rivalry series, it's series on now.
Yeah. This is now starting to look like the series we were, anticipating heading into the postseason. And for those of us who bet that 6-game, 7-game stack, we're now live with that action. So even though it was a rough, night last night, it's now put us in the position to cash some other larger tickets over the next 1, potentially 2 games. But like I said, hats off to Pittsburgh. This is a resilient team. And we said it even in game 4, we said, it's tough to see a Sidney Crosby-led team just fold over and lay out and get swept or get bounced out in 5 games. They had to show some fight, and they certainly have done that. And Artur Shilovs has certainly been the big story of the last 2 games for the Penguins as well. Like I said, this is a guy who slowly emerging as, getting it to be a better NHL goaltender, a more reliable goaltender in some big time moments.
No doubt. And 2-0 now with Artur Shilovs after replacing Skinner with Artur Shilovs in this series. And now back to Game 6. And if I'm Philadelphia, got to close it at home. I mean, you don't want Game 7 back in Pittsburgh, although I will say Game 7 road teams historically in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs have done solidly. But still, I don't think you want to tempt fate and take that to chance. You want to try to wrap it up when it goes back to Philadelphia here for Game 6. And then the second game, what a game this turned out to be. Vegas and Utah. Wow. Momentum swings galore. Up and down it went. Obviously, look, Vegas struck quickly. 1-0 in the first period. Then a shorthanded goal and what a night for Brett Howden, who had been ice cold offensively for the Vegas Golden Knights. He got a couple of goals and a 2-0 lead after the first period. And then when Vegas added to the lead, 3-0 in the second period, you felt, wow, Vegas means business, playing a hell of a game so far. Even in Utah, it's going to be tough for the Mammoth to make their way back. And at that moment, we thought we were going to have for sure a series tied at 2. But how about this Utah team? They get the quick 2 goals back-to-back to make it 3-1 and 3-2 and get them on the board, which was a big time for them to get those goals. The crowd got back into it. Once again, after those 2 quick ones on Carter Hart from Nick Schmaltz and from Ian Cole, the seeing eye shot from the blue line. And then the quick tying goal early. I didn't love that goal from Carter Hart, the Carcone goal that made it 3-3. Didn't love that goal. Thought that was one he probably should have stopped. And then Clayton Keller was a tough break to give Utah the 4-3 lead. A tough bounce off a Vegas player and careened into the net for the 4-3 Mammoth lead. And at that point, you're thinking, holy fuck. This Vegas team, my gosh, up 3-0, and now they're down 4-3. But to their credit, you realize that you could easily panic in that situation if you're a younger team, especially. Like, we're down 2-1 in the series. Are you kidding? We're up 3-0, and we're down 4-3, and you could just totally let it get away. But credit to Vegas. Once it got 4-3, they kept playing. They did put a couple of good shifts together, and then Brett Howden with his second goal of the game, tying it up at 4 with about with half of the third period left. No goals after that for the remainder of regulation. It goes to overtime, first overtime game, first draw of this series with the Golden Knights and the Mammoth. And then in overtime, it looked like maybe Vegas had won it at first with a Jack Eichel goal, but it was called offside, and the play continued, obviously. It was the right call. It was definitely offside. It was Dorofeyev goal, sorry. It was called offside. It was the right call. Definitely was offside. So the play continued, and you thought at that point I was tempted to top up a little Utah money line. You know how that sometimes works. One team thinks they've won in overtime. It's called back via offside. Maybe that goes the other way, but nope. Vegas found a way, and in the last minute, and Vejmelka got himself into one hell of a pickle on that overtime goal by Shea Theodore. He got caught. He was swimming around in his net. He was twisted like a pretzel trying to keep the puck out, and he lost his goal stick. All he has to do, and Ian Cole was trying to help get the goal stick back to him. All he's got to do is look over, and it's right there. He never did. He was so fixated on the play and the puck that he never realized my goal stick's right there. He had time to pick up his goal stick and get it back. Now, maybe that doesn't change anything. Maybe Shea Theodore still scores there, but at least you got a little better chance to deal with the incoming shot when you got your goal stick there. So he lost the goal stick. It was right there. Cole helped to, push the stick right next to him. He never saw it. He was just so fixated on what was going on in front of him. He never realized the goal stick was right there. He never got it back. He was swimming around, like I said, twisted like a pretzel, out of position, not really in the best position to deal with Shea Theodore's shot from the point. And Vegas wins it in overtime and ties the series at 2. And we're down to a best of 3, Alex, going back to T-Mobile.
Yeah, and this is interesting now. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay. You've seen the fight that Utah has put up in these 2 games, except obviously a great win in Game 3, and then to come back from what could have been just an absolute disaster last night. Where does their psyche stand now going back on the road for Game 5 in Vegas? This is now, territory Vegas is certainly familiar with, being able to close out a series. And like we said, it could be ignorance is bliss early on in the season in the series. But now when you're at a point where you have to try and win a pivotal game 5, swing things back your way, and like I said, this is now a best of 3 series advantage to Vegas right now. I don't know if this is, Utah team's going to be able to keep, returning the counterpunch in this series. At some point, it seems like Vegas may be able to kind of ride that momentum forward. And, once again, this is where Tortorella comes into play. This is a veteran guy who knows how to close out a series. Like I said, he was able to steer this ship as well, just to get them back in that game. So, the advantage is certainly with Vegas. I'm curious to see what happens with Game 5.
I'm glad we jumped on that. We all talked about that. That's how great group we have here, the Ice Guys family. We're on the BetCast last night, and we ended up talking about what we're going to do with some of the bets here with Vegas, Utah, while the Pittsburgh Philly game was still going, and we all started talking about it. I know Jonathan brought it up. Benji, I think, on the BetCast might have brought it up, talking about how Dorofeyev was moving up to the top line and the number 1 power play unit. He's a shooter. He's playing with Eichel, who's going to look to get him the puck because he's a guy that's going to shoot the puck. And we thought, based on him getting more ice time, the top line, the power play 1, that he'd go over 2.5 shots. He had 3 shots, early in the second period last night. That's how quickly it cashed. The Pavel Dorofeyev over 2.5 shots on goal. So the whole group deserves credit for that. I know John in the chat says, great job, Ian. No, the whole group came up with that one. But like I said, it was a good call. Made a lot of sense, too, when you look at the way Dorofeyev was moved up to the top line in the power play unit, that he'd be definitely involved shooting the puck quite a bit more. But that's been Vegas, Utah. There's been a lot of great series, and I would say even the 2 sweeps, Boston, LA, or Colorado, LA, and Carolina, Ottawa. Most of those games were at least competitive. There was really one blowout in Colorado, LA, and that was Game 4, 5-1. The other games in that series, even though it was a sweep, were pretty close. And then you look at Carolina, Ottawa, that was a sweep, but every game was close, for the most part. So we have had some really good series. And then every other series, we're going to get 6 games minimum out of Montreal, Tampa. We're going to get 6 games minimum out of Pittsburgh, Philly. We're going to get 6 games minimum out of Dallas, Minnesota. There's still a chance we get at least 6 from Anaheim, Edmonton. And now we're going to get 6 from Vegas, Utah. That's pretty damn good. It's pretty solid first round, just from a viewing standpoint and excitement. And we're going to have a lot of long series and certainly still a bunch of series hanging in the balance. Is this one still hanging in the balance as we begin our look to Tuesday night? Boston, Buffalo, the Sabres trying to close out the Bruins. They're up 3-1 in the series. We got Buffalo minus 160, home favorites here in this game. The total sitting at 5.5 or 6. Definitely shop around because there's plenty of books that have 5.5 with some juice, and there are plenty of books with 6. So if you like the under, get a 6. If you like the over, get a 5. Boston was embarrassed Sunday afternoon. There's no question. And they were beaten pillar to post, start to finish, dominated front to back. There's no argument there. Buffalo was just, 10 times the better team than the Boston Bruins. And you get the sense that Buffalo is starting to seize control here of this series. If Boston's going to do anything in this game as far as a response and backs against the wall and respond to what Marco Sturm and with Jeremy Swayman and a lot of David Pasternak, they were all very adamant post-game that, we're embarrassed. We're better than that. We've got to show, that we're not that kind of team. Show some backbone. Be ready to start the game from the opening puck drop, which clearly they were not Sunday afternoon at TD Garden against the Buffalo Sabres. You don't have to do it, but I have to do it. I kind of think this could be a Boston first goal, first period spot. I think just based on that. And plus Buffalo, as much as they've got control right now, and that building is going to be in a frenzy at KeyBank Center, and they're going to be punching Boston Bruin dummies outside the building like they've been doing here so far in these home playoff games. The party in the plaza, they call it, with outside KeyBank Center. All those Sabre fans watching the game on the screen outside. As much of a frenzy as it can be, this is still a team that's trying to close out a series for the first time. You could tell Lindy Ruff had concerns yesterday. It's almost like he had to explain to some of his players, this is what you got to do in a closeout game. This is what you got to do, and this is kind of the mentality you got to bring to the rink when you're trying to close out an opponent. And not just an opponent, a team that's still got a lot of veterans on it. the Boston Bruins. It's a franchise that's won a lot of playoff series over the last decade, going back, obviously, to the Cup of 2011. Obviously, there's a weaker Bruins team than some of the ones that we have seen in the past, but almost like Lindy Ruff's providing this cautionary tale to his team. This is what you got to do if you want to close out a team. Even though you've played good and even though you're coming off your most complete, dominant 60-minute effort of the series in Game 4 and that 6-1 win, don't take it for granted. Be ready to go, bring the right approach to be ready from opening puck drop. But I have a feeling Boston will be ready for opening puck drop. Now, I don't think I trust Boston to win the game and extend the series necessarily here tonight, but I am going to take the Boston first goal, first period approach. A little bit of the Boston goal in the first period here as well. And Lyon is going to be a net again. It's already confirmed. But Lyon's been a beast on the road. He's back home now. And if you look at his home numbers, there's been a drop in his home numbers this season. Save percentage, goals against, all of it's been better on the road for Alex Lyon than it's been at home at KeyBank Center. So I'm going to give Boston a shot here, just based solely on what that Bruin crest and what that veteran group knows they have to do tonight, coming off what we saw Sunday. So I will take a shot there. Boston first goal, first period, and goal in the first period. And the first goal, first period angle, Alex, coming off a loss in the playoffs. It didn't start out very good. It was very up and down. The record wasn't great with it. But you start to look at the last couple nights. Look at last night. Pittsburgh, first goal, first period, off a loss. Or actually, no, they won the previous game. My bad. But Vegas, last night. First goal, first period, off a loss. That hit. We had a couple of them on Sunday come through. So you're starting to see a little bit of this now, that first goal, first period angle when you lose the previous game. So I'll go in with that. I'll probably bet Buffalo live if Boston scores the first goal, because Buffalo could easily come back and win this game. I think it's a slow, sluggish, maybe tight start for this Sabres team. Their first opportunity with this group to close out a series. I could see them being a little tight early. Boston gets that first goal, and then I look for Buffalo live. That's basically the approach. This is an elimination game, so just going to quickly roll through it. Over 2, third period pregame. I've got over 1.5 third period in this game, parlayed with over 1.5 third period of the other elimination game tonight, Anaheim Edmonton. That parlay is minus 107 at BetMGM. The empty net props here, Sabres empty net goal, just an empty net goal in general, which finally, thank you, BetMGM, took long enough. Finally, the empty net props are available there at BetMGM. So we got all that going, and a little sprinkle on full game over 5.5 as well. Alex, Game 5, Bruins Sabres.
I don't know if my tweet spurred them to finally get that rolling, but they did eventually get those numbers up with the empty net goals, and that's what I'm on here. Empty net goal, you got plus 125 here. Sabres to get the empty net goal plus 220, and third period over flat 2 minus $1.20 here. I'm not looking at anything first period. It wouldn't shock me if this is a scoreless first period, which of course, if you look at that trend you started talking about, of course, second period over. Second period, both teams to score is plus 146 pregame. Didn't have that on the card initially. I might add that pregame and, of course, wait for a second period over, especially if we do get a 1-0 start, but that trend that we've been talking about. But pregame, the heavier looks are all third period. Sabres to wrap this thing up, get the empty net goal, any empty net goal plus 125, and that third period over at flat 2.
It is for goal props, and I would say even more specific, just as much goal props, I would say point props. It is a buffet level, a smorgasbord level of value with several Buffalo Sabres player props, goals and points tonight. Let's go with points first, just points. Owen, I got the power. I got the power. There we go. Let's get our falsetto voice there. Owen Power for the Buffalo Sabres on the blue line. He has gotten a point in 6 straight games, every game in this series, and you are still, with Owen Power for Buffalo, getting a rich, healthy plus price for him just to get a point. I mean, it's obviously a must-have, must-bet right now when you're seeing that. You can get Owen Power as good as plus 175 for him to get a point tonight. There is no question. That is you got to look at that. When a guy's on that, this is not supposed to happen. And this is why we love NHL betting and NHL player props, because there's no adjustment, none. It's basically right around the same price it's always been. Owen Power's on a 6-game point streak. You wouldn't freaking know it with this price, plus 175. No adjustment at all. So that's a great look. Peyton Krebs is on a 4-game point streak. He's gotten a point in every game. His point prop is plus 122. I'd go even further with the goal prop, plus 450, because he's on the top line. He scored in game 4 in Boston. Peyton Krebs, that's worth a look. And we're not even close to done. Bowen Byram, and you're seeing now why Buffalo's happy to have him. His days in Colorado, was part of that cup-winning team with the Avs. He has gotten way more involved in the offense. He has gotten a point in 3 straight games. And his point prop, Bo Byram, for Buffalo on the blue line is plus 155 at Bet Rivers. So it's just a phenomenal price, outstanding there for him. Plus 140 at FanDuel. Great point price there for Bo Byram. For the Buffalo Sabres as well. You can even go down further. You've not seen nothing like the mighty Jack Quinn. Jack Quinn, his point prop's pretty solid, minus 115 or so to get a point. Josh Doan, who had a goal last game, also, of course, a point, plus 130, plus 135, I believe, is what we're looking at just with the point prop. I'd go one step further with him, the goal prop, upwards of plus 350. I mean, you got all kinds of just incredible value with these Buffalo Sabres point props. It's just crazy. Byram, Power, Doan, Benson. There's another one. He finally got going last game for the Buffalo Sabres. His point props around plus 138. I told you that line is eventually going to find the back of the net, and they did in game 4 on Sunday for the Buffalo Sabres. And it's funny, Noah Ostlund has been with that line since Josh Norris went out due to injury. Now there's talk that Josh Norris could be, ready to go and could be available for the Buffalo Sabres tonight. But does he get back in the lineup? I don't think so. I don't think you adjust a lineup if you're Lindy Ruff that's won back-to-back games. So I think it's going to stay status quo here for the Sabres. It's looking like, I don't see Norris in tonight, at least not at the moment. You don't want to, and that third line, it hasn't lost anything with Josh Norris out and Noah Ostlund on that line with Josh Doan and Zach Benson, that very good third line. Krebs and Thompson and Tuck have been good. Zucker, McLeod, Quinn. Like I said, it's hard to want to adjust anything. I think if you were going to look at Boston here in this game, as far as who's going to get, and by the way, Bo Byram's also on a 3-game goal streak. So put a little something on that goal prop for Bo Byram too, plus 625. Holy mackerel, great price. And this guy is not just been a point machine, but like I said, 3 straight games with a goal for him. Tuck's got a goal in back-to-back games here as well for the Sabres. If I'm going to look to a Boston props tonight in their attempt to stay alive, I'm done with Zacha, Alex, in the playoffs. We've talked about it. He's 1 goal in his last, 20, 30 games in the playoffs. I mean, he's a great regular season player for this team, but my goodness, he has not carried it over into the playoffs. I would look probably towards Morgan Geekie. Pasternak's got to rise to the occasion. He's had a bit of a tepid series. Those are the ones you got to factor in as far as Boston. Keep it simple. If they're going to score goals, those are going to be the players that are going to have to do it for them, especially with Arvidsson out. Arvidsson had actually been playing pretty well for them, and now Arvidsson's day-to-day with an upper body injury may not play tonight, and that would hurt them. Sidorov also is questionable here for the Bruins tonight. Missed practice, and it's looking more and more like he's been playing through an injury, it looks like, Zadorov, but kind of looking more and more like he may not suit up here tonight. And then last but not least, the saves props. I don't know. I mean, Boston, you'd think this is a game script that says Lion over saves because Boston's facing elimination. Throw everything at the net, but not totally sold on that necessarily here in this one. So those are the props I'm interested in here for Boston Buffalo. All right, next up, we've got Minnesota and Dallas. Has been a heck of a series so far, and then we'll see if it continues here in Dallas. Series tied 2-2. We're down to a best of 3. Dallas minus 130, home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this one. I think when you look at the last game, what I'm concerned about for Dallas is, a lot of reliance on the power play. I think their 5-on-5 game's got to take a step forward. We haven't seen their 5-on-5 game necessarily flourish as much here in these last couple games. See if they can ramp it up a little bit as far as that is concerned. If you look at lineup situation here for both of these teams, it looks like for Dallas, I'm not seeing a ton of difference. Ritskovian, Johnston, Rantanen, the top line, Robertson, Duchesne, Bork, the second line, Steele, Huru, Ben, Oscar Beck, Radek Faksa, Colin Blackwell. So at the moment, not much change there. The big story for Minnesota coming into tonight's game is the possibility that Matt Zuccarello returns. He was practicing. He's been upgraded to questionable, and he's just going to make them better in all facets offensively. Certainly the power play will be helped if Matt Zuccarello returns for the Minnesota Wild tonight. But again, we will see if that is indeed the case. You look at Dallas coming off that tough overtime loss. I think Dallas, I lean that way. We'll see how this game starts out. Definitely got my lean toward the Stars here, minus 130. I don't love the price, though, I got to admit. I'm going to see if I can find a way to maybe get this price lower in game, or maybe Minnesota gets a lead at some point. We'll bet Dallas live during the game, because in Dallas, these have been tough games for them here in this series. Minnesota dominated them, obviously, in game one, that no-show from Dallas when they were terrible. And even in game two, that game was right there for the taking down the stretch. So we'll see if that carries over here. We have seen suddenly the goals start to flourish early in these games. So is this a first period over spot? This could be. This is one of those games where, because it's not an elimination game, I could see the goals being early and then it slows down, where instead of vice versa, where often in the elimination games it can start slow and then it opens up later in the game. So I'm going to sprinkle on the first period over and both teams to score first period with Wild and Stars tonight, and a little bit on the draw as well. And I'm going to look for Dallas live. I lean Dallas, but I'm going to see if I can get a little something better during the game tonight. Alex, what do you think here? A big game 5 and what's been a great series, Minnesota Dallas.
This has been a fantastic series, but this feels like a point where you have a team that shows their killer instinct in a spot where they're familiar with, and that's the Dallas Stars, who have won 4 of their last 5 games in game 5 when tied 2-2. This is definitely a home team spot. I got minus $1.20 yesterday. I still like it here at $1.30. I also like Dallas first goal, first period, plus 115. And I would be looking for that first period over, but I'm going to wait in game. $1.15, $1.20 pregame. You can wait a couple minutes to try and grab that at plus money. I think this is the spot where, even with Minnesota possibly getting Zuccarello back, Trenton was also skating at practice as well. I still think Dallas, like I said, they know how things went in game 1 specifically. Like I said, how tough it's been for them at home. You can now put everything on all the momentum on your side by taking care of business at home, having that home crowd at your advantage. And I think Dallas does that. So give me Dallas money line, Dallas first goal, first period, and I'll wait for that first period over in game.
All right, some props to be aware of for this game. We'll start. Actually, I'm going to start here with the points props. Miro Heiskanen, this was a bargain bin winner for Alex, with him to score a goal in game 4 over the weekend. He's gotten a point in 4 straight games for the Dallas Stars. He's been shooting the puck a little bit more. That's why he scored that goal against Minnesota over the weekend. Matt Duchene's got a point in 3 straight games. Boldy, Rantanen, both have points in back-to-back. Actually, Rantanen's gone over 1.5 points in back-to-back games for the for the Dallas Stars. And then you look at shots on goal. Boldy and Eriksson Ek, at the moment, at least, they can't make the number on their shots on goal high enough, because Boldy's gone over 3.5 shots on goal in 6 straight games, including all 4 games in this series so far. And you're only laying $1.05, $1.10 with Matt Boldy over 3.5 shots on goal. So it's definitely hard to turn that down. Joel Eriksson Ek for Minnesota, 5 straight games, he's gone over 3.5 shots, and you're actually getting plus money on that. And that includes every game in this series. Joel Eriksson Ek's gone over 3.5 shots on goal. That's hard to turn that price down when you factor in he's just going over 3.5 shots repeatedly. Jason Robertson's gone over 3.5 shots in 4 straight games, all in this series for Dallas. Now, that one's a little pricey, minus 150, but he's still gone over 3.5 shots. Wyatt Johnston, that's pricey too. Over 2.5 is around minus 160, but he's gone over that in every game in this series. You look at Ryan Hartman and Johansson have gone over their shot numbers in 2 straight games. Maverick Bourque and Thomas Harley. This is interesting. All of a sudden, Harley's shot attempts and shots have spiked. He's gone over 1.5 shots in 2 straight games. So this feels like it could be a Thomas Harley night. This could be a night to sprinkle on that Thomas Harley goal prop, because suddenly his shots on goal numbers have increased a little bit. And I find the later in the series we go, the message becomes a lot more simplified from the coaching staff. Get the pucks to, especially on the power play, right? Get the pucks to the point and rip puck from the point. That's when your Thomas Harleys come into play. Your Miro Haskinens for Minnesota would be Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber. So don't be scared to look at those defenseman props, shots on goal, goal prop, assist prop, shots props. Those defensemen, I think, I find in the later games in the series, things get tighter, things get more important. Simplification in offensive execution becomes paramount. And part of that is asking what we think are pretty good, talented defensemen on both sides to get involved. Faber and Hughes for Minnesota, Heiskanen and Harley are your guys primarily for Dallas. So keep an eye on those 4 defensemen, as far as a prop market goes here tonight and probably moving forward here in the series. Also, Jason Robertson has scored in every game in the series. I mean, it's only plus 120, plus 125, but are we shocked anymore? All he is a Minnesota Wild killer, Jason Robertson, and he scored in every game in this series for them. Faber, I think Faber, like I mentioned, obviously the defenseman, Faber and Heiskanen, they both scored last game. Blocked shots going into this game. Spurgeon 3 straight over 1.5 blocks. Tyler Myers is a great price. Over 2.5 plus 105, and he's gone over that in 3 straight games. Tyler Myers has been a nice, quiet, he's been a nice addition here for Dallas.
Yes.
He's been pretty solid. I think he's upped his game since he was in Vancouver. I mean, we were talking about this with Ryan Robinson the other night. Yeah, I think he's been quietly effective. That's the term, quietly effective for the Dallas Stars. Esa Lindell's a good shot block candidate. Over 2.5 plus 130. He's gone over that in 2 straight. Brock Faber's blocked over 1.5 shots in 2 straight games as well. That's something to keep an eye on. I'm neutral on the saves props tonight, but I will say this. Ottinger, now again, we did have overtime last game, and we've had some overtime, but Ottinger's gone over his saves prop in 3 straight, and Jesper Wallsted's gone over his saves prop in every game in this series. So, certainly with Wallsted, his saves prop is 4-0 to the over in this series so far. We'll see if that continues here in Game 5 tonight. But definitely a fun game, great series. See if we get another great game in it here tonight. All right, we wrap up the Tuesday night Stanley Cup playoff preview here with Anaheim and Edmonton. Is this indeed the end of what could be one heck of a great era of Edmonton? Or not totally the end of an era, but there could be some changes, and there is no guarantee that number 97, is back for Edmonton next year. So, like I said, there could be some changes with the Oilers. They've gone to the Cup final 2 years in a row. They will try to stay alive tonight against the Anaheim Ducks. Edmonton minus 160 home favorites. The total anywhere from 6.5 to 7. Most books have this at 7 now. There's only a couple books that have 6.5, but heavy juice on it. Make sure you're aware of that. I'm seeing minus 160 for some of these 6.5. So you might as well call it 7 pretty much across the board here with this total. There's no doubt Edmonton's got a lot of players on this team that have been together, this core of, McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, who's an original Oiler. He's played his whole career there. Zach Hyman's been there a long time now. So many, Darnell Nurse. I mean, you've got Matthias Ekholm's a veteran defenseman. These are guys that have heart and pride and character and guts in them. You can't question that. They've shown it in the past that they've been able to battle back from series deficits, down 2-0 to LA last year, come back and win. Down 3-0 to Florida 2 years ago in the Stanley Cup final, come all the way back to force Game 7 and lose by 1 goal in Game 7. We know there's enough of that. We don't question that with the Edmonton Oilers tonight, that they're going to battle right till the end. They're not giving up. But what we do question is a lot of other things. We question this miserable defense in this series that cannot handle the speed and the firepower of the Anaheim Ducks. We question the goaltending, which has just not been good enough in this series, particularly from the guy that's back in net tonight. And I'm shocked by this a little bit. That I thought Tristan Jarry was the least of your problems in Game 4. I thought he gave you a chance to win that game. I thought he had to make a lot of really, really tough saves, and he did. It's the first time in the series, too, that Anaheim was held below, 5 goals in the series, and it was with Tristan Jarry in net in Game 4, and yet they go back to Connor Ingram here tonight. I'm just puzzled by that. I thought he earned another opportunity I'm not saying he's great. And I've been bashing Jari ever since he got to Edmonton with his play. I have not said good things about Jari since he's been with Edmonton, and rightfully so. His play has stunk for the most part. But in Game 4, that's the best game he's played in an Oilers jersey, possibly. That's how good. He gave them a chance. And to me, going back to Connor Ingram was just surprising to me. And look, I'm not Chris Knobloch. I'm not the coach. He is. But I had some issues with that. I didn't get it. But nevertheless, at the end of the day, it's not going to matter if the defense isn't better. And now to make matters worse, Connor McDavid, and you could see he hasn't had those speed bursts, those end-to-end rushes that are so we basically think of when we think of Connor McDavid, we think of those end-to-end rushes, those speed bursts where he just turns on the afterburners and he goes after the opposing defense and skates circles around them. He hadn't done it very much in this series because he's been battling injuries. He's less than 100%. He's playing hurt. He's got a real bad tender ankle situation that he's playing through. But he finally did in the end of Game 4 in the third period. He had a couple of those, end-to-end rushes because McDavid's trying to get something going. We don't want to go down 3-1 in the series. And he had a couple moments in that third period where he went end-to-end and he turned on the speed like he often does. And then he would come back to the bench. And you could see him clearly wincing in pain, clearly, after those moments. And you can tell that he is definitely feeling it. And I'm wondering if he made it worse with some of those speed burst rushes that he had at the end of Game 4. Because I don't think it's a coincidence. He finally shows those speed bursts end of Game 4 in desperate situation, looking to avoid going down 3-1. He's wincing in pain. He probably made it worse. And now all of a sudden we get to the morning skate today, Alex, for Game 5. And what are we hearing? Game time decision for Connor McDavid. I think he made it worse. I think he's probably even in more pain today than he was on Sunday in Game 4. So, like I said, now his status is up in the air. I think he's going to try to give it a go because it's an elimination game season on the line. But again, he was already not 100% to begin with. And it looks like maybe possibly at the end of Game 4, he made matters a little bit worse. Oh, and another shocker. He's back on the injury report. He can't get off it. Jason Dickinson, the trooper. He's a game-time decision. He's been a game-time decision for 3 years running, it feels like. Game in and game out. Alex knows as a Chicago fan, which was where Jason Dickinson played before. So he's questionable. McDavid, that is. Dickinson, so that's two of your top three centers. You're already struggling to contain this Anaheim offense. You're already struggling with they got to stay out of the box, too. Anaheim's power play is killing them in this series, absolutely destroying them. It's going to have to start with better discipline. Here's your options. Either stop taking these penalties if you're Edmonton, or you start figuring out how to kill some of them off and improve your penalty kill. It's got to be one or the other. Because if it's neither, you don't stop taking penalties and you don't kill them off, you're going home after tonight. That's all there is to it. The bottom line is Edmonton's got heart and character and grit and all that, and they're going to leave it all out on the ice tonight. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. I don't necessarily hate Edmonton, the first goal, first period, but with this money line price being what it is right now, minus 160, for me, I have to take Anaheim plus 140. I have to. I just think with the way this series has gone, Anaheim is controlling the flow, getting more confidence. Edmonton has not proven to be able to defend them. I think McDavid's even more in a state of injury now, even after Game 4. Now Dickinson questionable. Connor Ingram in net, which is perplexing to me. After Jari, I think maybe gave them their single best goaltender performance of the series in Game 4, and yet they don't go back to him. And then all these vultures circling in Edmonton, and they hear it. I think they're starting to figure this might be it for us, guys. This just might be it, and not to mention another element to why I'm concerned about Edmonton being in a price range like this here with the injuries and how they've struggled with Anaheim at the defensive end of the ice. The wear and tear and all the mileage on the body of not one, but 2 consecutive years going to the Stanley Cup final. And that is definitely, I'm seeing some of that too. I'm seeing some of that wear and tear. I'm seeing those long miles traveled by the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup playoffs the last 2 years. Maybe those miles on the body, they're starting to show up right now. And meanwhile, why they're showing up even more maybe in a series like this, Alex, is because you got all this speed. They're skating like crazy, Anaheim, and Edmonton has had a hard time keeping up when you played such a shit ton of hockey here these last 2-3 years. eventually that's going to add up. So I think this is just a situation where win or lose, maybe Edmonton does win and extends it, but I think pregame, I think we can fairly say Edmonton should not be this big a favorite, given the situation, given the injuries, given the flow of the series, given Anaheim's gotten better and better with each game. This to me is just should not be minus 160 in my mind. Could you make Edmonton maybe a minus 130 or 40 favorite even? Yeah, you could. Minus 160? No, absolutely not. Just based on price alone. Quack, 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 quack. Give me the Anaheim Ducks here, plus 140 in this game. I'm going to run back a couple things. Both teams to score 3 goals in the series is cashed in every game. So I'm going to keep going with it. Both teams to score 3 goals rather than any of the overs here in this series. I'm also, of course, going to be on third period over. 1.5 as part of the parlay with Boston Buffalo, and also the empty net props. Anaheim empty net goal and just overall empty net goal, both at BetMGM. Alex, Game 5, Ducks Oilers.
It's been 7 seasons with the Edmonton Oilers where they've had disappointing playoff exits. And like you said, none bigger than the last 2, where you get to the Stanley Cup final and you lose to the same opponent. You have a series where you're down 3-0 and you come back to tie it up and force Game 7 and have momentum in that game and then lose that. I think this is the writing on the wall for Edmonton. I think this is where we see a shift in this Pacific Division with these 2 franchises. And I think we're seeing Anaheim going on the way up, and Edmonton, that loud slam you're hearing is that old oak window closing of them having an actual shot at winning a Stanley Cup. Give me Anaheim here. I got plus 145 last night. We were all in the betcast wondering this is an awfully high price for Edmonton. It was minus 170 and 175 at a couple of books last night. So money's come in on Anaheim. I like Anaheim to win this game. So I took them on the money line. I have them to score an empty net goal, plus 400 at BetMGM, plus 120 for an empty net goal just in general. I don't have the over 2.5. It was 2.5 at even money at BetMGM. I'm not laying a price with the 2, so I'll be waiting for third period over live in some sort of space. But I think Anaheim takes care of business tonight, and I think this is the end of the road for Edmonton. And it would not shock me one bit, especially if we see where I don't think it's going to be where McDavid doesn't play at all. But what if we see McDavid play and he's not 100% and his time is limited and it's a 4-1, 5-1 Anaheim game. They kind of start to run away with it, and we see him less and less on the ice. It wouldn't shock me one bit if this is Connor McDavid's last game in an Edmonton Oilers uniform, because, like you said, just the way that he's looked, the way that this season has gone, you can just tell, like I said, this body language is like, what more can I do with this group to get us further? And it just seems like there really isn't anything else he can do. This is not on him. He could go out and have a fucking hat trick tonight, and this team could still lose 5-3, 6-3. This is just the way it is, and that it's tough, and it's got to be rough for Oilers fans to know that you've had 2 of the best players in the absolute world over these last several years, and you just haven't been able to accomplish that final goal. And like I said, now it just seems like they've run out of steam. So Ducks, money line, Ducks to get the empty net goal in the game. Those are my 3 plays here, and I think we see them advance and the Oilers go home.
Yeah, it's like I said, if you ask me right now, I think it probably is going to end tonight. But they do have heart, they do have guts, the Oilers. But I just worry about the gas tank. I worry about the gas tank. I worry about the injuries. I worry about their mess of a defense that isn't containing this Anaheim team. I worry about them being undisciplined, taking so many penalties, and Anaheim's power play is absolute. Look, Anaheim's had the better power play in this series, and I don't think anybody expected that. Not everybody, I should say, expected that. Maybe some people did, but certainly not everybody when you know how great they've been with the power play here the last few years. But you just wonder if there's anything left in the tank. I see one person that does have belief in the Oilers tonight. Oilers win with ease tonight, with or without McDavid, and his name in the chat's Broward County won. And it probably can't be easy for him to say that because he's a Florida guy from the looks of things, as far as all that history with Edmonton. But yeah, like I said, it's I think it's tough sledding for Anaheim, or Edmonton rather. But we'll see. As far as props, there's a bunch that I like here for this very intriguing Game 5. As far as, first, we'll start with shots on goal. I mean, Uncle Leo over 3.5 shots is plus 150 in some spots. Do you know he's gone over 3.5 in 6 straight games? I mean, and he has taken it upon himself to be involved, get to the net, shoot that puck more. Even though we think of Leo Carlsson as a great facilitator as well, he's gotten 4 shots or more, 6 straight games. So hard not to take that. Anything and everything Kasperi Kapanen. I mean, especially if McDavid doesn't play. Overshots, score a goal plus 360. It's still a great price. Point prop is plus 130. Assist prop plus 268. You name it. Anything and everything Kapanen, who's had a really good series for Edmonton. You could argue he's been their best forward so far in this series. Cutter Gauthier has gone over 3.5 shots in 3 straight games. Alex Killorn's gone over 3.5 shots. 1.5 shots in 3 straight games. Mason McTavish over 1.5 shots in 3 straight games. Kookie, Lenby Lacombe, Jackson Lacombe over 1.5 shots on goal in 3 straight games. Not to mention the point prop that just keeps on cashing for Jackson Lacombe. An incredible 7-game point streak. He's had a point in every game in this series. He's the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs leading point getter at this point, Jackson Lacombe. And yet you can still get as good as minus 130, 32. You know, you're not getting plus money anymore, finally, but you're still getting it at a reasonable enough minus 130 for him to get a point here in this game tonight. So I think it's still a bettable price, you know, at that number. And also look, I mentioned Kapanen for sure. Nugent Hopkins probably has got to step up too, you know, if Edmonton's going to stay alive. And he does have a point in 3 straight games. The Ryan Nugent Hopkins for the Edmonton Oilers. So that's someone maybe to look at as well as far as a point prop. Granlund's gotten points in back-to-back games. His point prop's only minus 122. Mason McTavish, back-to-back games with a point, and his point prop is plus money. That's worth looking at. Evan Bouchard, you know, I think he's going to shoot the puck more tonight. He did score last game. His goal prop could be worth a look. I think they know they need his offense. They need him shooting. So plus 390 for Bouchard. I don't mind that. Paling's been this unsung hero. Of course, got the overtime winner last game, plus 490 for him to find the back of the net. How do we not take Jeffrey Viel at this point? 10-1, and he's scored in back-to-back games for the Anaheim Ducks. Jeff Viel, what a series he's had for them, and some big goals. The 6-4 goal in Game 4 to put it away, and then he got the tying goal in Game 4 the other night. So Jeff Viel has had a big series for the Anaheim Ducks. Reminds me of those years when we talk about Joel Ward out of nowhere scoring big goals for teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs many years ago. So Jeff Viel, Kapanen, of course, back-to-back games with a goal. Nugent Hopkins, Granlund, back-to-back games with a goal. So there really is a lot of good props here. Blocked shots. John Carlson's gone over 1.5 blocked shots for Anaheim in every game in this series. That's something to consider, and especially if you think Edmonton rather is going to throw everything at the net. John Carlson over 1.5 block shots when he's gone over in every game in this series makes sense. So those are definitely a lot of good props here. Let me see Seneca. I think there was one prop of interest that I had for Seneca here. I think it was the point prop. Was it not with Seneca? Let me just double check on that. Or was it shots on goal? It was something. It's shots on goal for Seneca. Over 2.5 shots in back-to-back games for Seneca, for Beckett Seneca. All right, shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Looking forward to it. Another great 3-pack of Stanley Cup playoff games tonight. Make sure you check out, of course, wizardsportspicks.com, NHL, NBA playoffs, MLB, and more. Check it out at wizardsportspicks.com. And, of course, patreon.com/Ice Guys, $10 per month, goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. We'll have another live betcast for Patreon members only Thursday night this week. Game to be determined. It's basically, here's what it's going to be. If Edmonton wins to stay alive tonight, it's going to be Anaheim-Edmonton, the betcast game for Thursday night. If Anaheim closes it out tonight, it's going to be Dallas-Minnesota for the betcast game on Thursday night. So that's how it'll be. But Thursday night, it'll be another Patreon-exclusive live betcast. So to be part of that, make sure you sign up. Just $10 per month. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show, keeping it going long term. So get on board, just $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. You have 2 days left To save 20% off all items in the store, hit that redeem button at the home page, add all your items to your cart, and 20% will be taken off at checkout. It's springtime, it's playoff time. It's a great time to grab yourself a t-shirt, a cap, a hoodie, a mug, maybe all the above, and you can save 20% for the next 2 days. That's over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
That's Rich H. I agree with everything. I noticed that stat too about Connor Ingram, minus 5.14 goals saved above average, above expected, worst in the playoffs so far for any goalie. Again, I'll just reiterate it. I'm not the coach. I wouldn't be making that decision, but hey, I'm not Chris Knobloch. So there you go. He gets paid to do this shit and make these decisions. Just better hope it works for him tonight. But we'll see. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guy sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right, bargain bin special of the night. Well, we got a little bump in our bank account last night. A little bump in the night, courtesy of Alex. Alex bump. No, not this Alex. Alex bump for the Philadelphia Flyers plus 650. Bargain bin special winner last night. So see if we can add to it here on this Tuesday. Alex, we'll start with you. Bargain bin special of the night.
Let's skate down to Big D. Got a huge Game 5 going on with Minnesota and the Stars, and I'm looking for Jason Robertson to get not one but 2 goals here tonight. Plus 700 is the price I saw at both FanDuel and BetMGM. So give me Robo, score twice for Dallas. That's my bargain bin special for tonight.
I've got 2, and I've got really good prices on the 2 players that I'm going with here for bargain bin special here tonight. I'm going to go with Bo Byram for the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, when it's 3 straight, and with the way he's shooting the puck, 3 straight games with a goal, plus 625 for Bo and Byram, Buffalo Sabres to find the back of the net. We're rocking with it. See if he can make it 4 straight games in this series with a goal. Bowen, Byram, Buffalo Sabres, plus 625 for my first bargain bin special of the night. And my second bargain bin special of the night for this card. Yeah, we're going for it. He's the Joel Ward of these playoffs, especially for the Anaheim Ducks. Jeffrey VL, we're doing it. Plus 1,000 for him to find the back of the net. 2 straight games with a goal. We're riding the wave. It's not going to go on forever, but we'll see if it can go on for at least one more night, like Phil Collins once sang. We've got Jeffrey VL plus 1,000 for the Anaheim Ducks. There you go. Jeffrey VL, Anaheim plus 1,000. Bo Byram, Buffalo plus 625 for my 2 bargain bin specials here for this Tuesday night. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you got for best bet?
It's been a hell of a run for the Edmonton Oilers over the last several years, but I think, like I said, it comes to an end tonight with this postseason, and I think the talks of us saying Edmonton's a contender in the Western Conference, they're a high-time player, Connor McDavid being one of the best in the league, I think all of that kind of goes away tonight. Give me the Anaheim Ducks here on the money line, plus 140. That's my best bet.
All right, there you go. Anaheim, quack, 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 quack for Alex with the Ducks, plus 140 to finish off the Edmonton Oilers tonight for his best bet on this Tuesday slate. My best bet here for this Tuesday slate, I am going to just go with the Boston Bruins, first goal, first period. I don't know if they win this game, okay? I don't. But I feel when you get embarrassed like that at home, Buffalo to me is the better team, and I think they're going to win this series. It could very well be tonight as well, but I think early in that game, we do get a first punch thrown by the Bruins. I really do. And plus, this is a group that's experiencing a chance to close out a Stanley Cup playoff series for the first time. And I think early in this game, It could be just a little bit tight, the Buffalo Sabres, just a little bit. And it could take them just a little bit to just get comfortable, breathe in, breathe out, relax, and really get into this game. Once they do, they could take over and win this game. But I think you'll get a strong push out of the gate from the Boston Bruins after that utter debacle that we saw Sunday afternoon at TD Garden. I am going to actually go with because I've got both bets here. I've got first goal, first period, plus 165 on Boston. I'm going with the safer route here with Boston goal in the first period, minus 120 at FanDuel is the price with that. I'm going to be a little bit safe with it for the best bet. So I've got both in pocket. Boston first goal, first period, plus 165. But I'm going to make, for the best bet, make it official, Boston goal in the first period, minus 120 at FanDuel for that. So there you go. Boston goal in the first period, minus 120 for my best bet here for this Tuesday NHL slate. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Looking forward to this Tuesday night of NHL action, 2 playoff elimination games, and looking forward to hopefully a good, profitable night as well. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll be back Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.